The history of Indian Arrival Day in Trinidad and Tobago. Indian Arrival Day in Trinidad and Tobago commemorates the arrival of the first Indian indentured laborers to the island nation. It is celebrated annually on May 30th. The history of Indian Arrival Day traces back to the 19th century when Trinidad and Tobago underwent significant demographic changes due to the abolition of slavery. After the emancipation of African slaves in 1834, there was a demand for labor in Trinidad and Tobago's agricultural sectors, particularly in the sugar industry. To address this labor shortage, the colonial authorities turned to India as a source of cheap and abundant labor. The British colonial government implemented a system of indentured labor, similar to the previous system of African slavery but with some legal differences. Under the indentured labor system, Indian laborers were recruited from various parts of India, primarily from the states of Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, and Bengal, among others. They were promised work contracts, wages, housing, and provisions for a specific period, typically 5 years. In exchange, the laborers agreed to work on Trinidad's plantations. The first ship carrying Indian indentured laborers, the Fatel Razak, arrived in Trinidad on May 30, 1845. This event marked the beginning of a mass influx of Indians into the country over the following decades. Approximately 147,000 Indians were brought to Trinidad and Tobago as indentured laborers between 1845 and 1917. Life for Indian indentured laborers in Trinidad and Tobago was arduous. They faced harsh working conditions, meager wages, and limited rights. Many experienced cultural shocks and struggled with the transition from rural Indian villages to the plantation economy of Trinidad. Despite these challenges, the Indian community in Trinidad and Tobago managed to preserve their cultural traditions, including language, religion, music, and cuisine. Over time, as the indenture system was abolished and laborers completed their contracts, many Indians chose to remain in Trinidad and Tobago. They formed communities, established businesses, and contributed to the social, economic, and cultural development of the country. Today, people of Indian descent constitute a significant portion of the population, and their influence is visible in various aspects of Trinidad and Tobago's society. Indian Arrival Day serves as a reminder of the struggles, resilience, and contributions of the Indian community in Trinidad and Tobago. It is a day of celebration, cultural performances, parades, exhibitions, and traditional Indian food. The festivities highlight the rich heritage and diversity of the nation, recognizing the lasting impact of Indian indentured laborers on Trinidad and Tobago's history.